Hey guys, today I'm going to take you through a little bit of a foam rolling mobility session. Please keep in mind that foam rolling by itself doesn't do much long term, so you need to follow it up with some active mobility, some re-education of those muscles, some additional flexibility work. It feels good when you do it, but you still need to make sure you're using what you gain so it lasts. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll just kind of go through full body and then maybe do a little bit of active mobility at the end, but we'll kind of see where we're at with time and go from there. So let's go ahead. We're going to start bottom up. So we'll start with some calf foam rolling. You can have your toe or your foot just resting, or you can have your toes up. This will give a little bit more, you're putting the muscle on stretch, so might be a little bit more intense there or here, the more weight that you put through it. And you can kind of roll. The more weight that you put through it, the more intense it's gonna be, which is not necessarily, it does not have to be super intense. It might be a little bit tender depending on where you're at, but you do not want it to be painful. And you can always flex your foot with a spot to get a little bit more of a stretch. You can even go here if you can kind of find a spot as well. And you can, if you find a tender spot, you can just hang out there as well. Do a little bit of a trigger point release for that muscle. And go from there. And then we'll switch over to the other side. Getting the sides as well as just the back of the calf. And again, you can flex the foot or you can keep it relaxed, and you can always just hang out on a spot if you find a tender spot. You're okay. And since we did just foam roll the calves, we're gonna do a little bit of stretching for your calves. So we're gonna come back here, and you can do it with your knee bent or straight, and kind of gently switching back and forth, getting a little bit of a passive stretch there. And going back and forth as you feel like you need. Okay. Next, we're going to go to the quads and the hamstrings. So we'll start with the quads. So you're going to take one leg, you're going to put it over the front of the thigh, and you can do both at the same time if you prefer, just going back and forth here. Or if you want to bias one side, you can come over with your leg on the opposite side there. Okay, and then we'll switch to the other side. And again, same thing with the calves, or as with the calves, you can kind of rock from side to side, find that tender spot and hang out there for a little bit too. And you can even bend the knee on a tender spot to get a little bit of a pin and stretch for that muscle. Okay, and then find another tender spot. And again, you're in control about how much weight you're putting through. Okay, and then we'll do the pin and stretch on the opposite side. So rolling it around, find a little bit of a tender spot. And then we're coming, bending and straightening the knee. And then find another tender spot. And bending and straightening the knee here. And you can offload that leg a little bit by tucking your other leg underneath if you need. Okay, and now we're gonna flip over onto and work on your hamstrings. So back of the thigh here. And you can even go into your adductors a little bit. So the inside of the thigh there as you go. Same thing as before, if you find a tender spot, you can hang out there for a little bit until it kind of releases. Okay, and then we'll switch to the other side there. And again, you can do both at the same time if you prefer. And you can always hang out, find that tender spot. Okay, and next we're going to do a little bit of quad and hamstring stretching, just to use what we just kind of had relax a little bit due to that input from the foam roller. So going forward and back, getting a good stretch, tucking the hips under. And we're just going to go back and forth. And we'll do 2 sets of 5 on each side. So this is 2. 3. 4. 5. Good, switch to the other side. So going forward, holding for a few seconds there, and then back. One. Keeping those hips tucked under. 2, 4, 3, keep those hips tucked under so you're squeezing your hip. 4, and 1 more. Okay, and then we'll switch to the other side, going forward, and then rocking back. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch. 1, forward, back, 2, forward, back, 3, forward, back, 4, forward, back, 5. Good. Next, we're going to roll out the piriformis here. So you're going to sit on the foam roll with one hip, and you're going to cross that leg over. You're just going to kind of roll out the side of the hip there. And again, you can find a tender spot, sit on that there, and you can even rock a little bit, seeing if you can find a tender spot there. And then you can also grab your knee and pull it across, get a little bit of a pin and stretch there. And all of these are kind of just based on what you feel. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and switch over to the other side. So other hip, and kind of rocking back and forth. And rolling back and forth here. And again, you can go pin and stretch, find that tender spot and pull across, or you can keep rolling, either one. Okay. And then we're gonna go down to the thoracic spine. And with this, we are just gonna hinge over top. So you're gonna keep your ribs tucked down, and then you're just gonna drop back. So you're not letting yourself arch all the way back. You're trying to keep those ribs tucked down and arching. And you can kind of go in different spots of the mid-back where you feel that stiffness. And so I like to use the foam roll more so for mobility in the mid-back versus just rolling on the muscles there. So you're using it more of a mobility tool. And as you go into different spots, it might be a little bit harder to keep the ribs down. So you want to feel it where the foam roll is, kind of hinging over the foam roll. Okay, and then we're going to use some of that mobility with a little bit of thoracic rotations. So we're going to put your hand behind your back and then just twist and come down. We're going to do 2 sets of 5 on each side. 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch to the other side, hand behind your back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Next, we are going to do a little bit of a release for the pec here. So you're going to be laying on your stomach. Foam roll is going to be kind of on the chest right here, so you don't want it to be out on your shoulder. You want it to be kind of right on your pec there. And then you can find a little bit of a tender spot potentially, or just kind of rest it over top of the side of the chest there. And then we're just going to go up and down with it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pinching that shoulder blade down and back, and we're going to switch to the other side. So you're going to have a little bit of an angle with the foam roll as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and switch to the other side. We'll do 1 more set of 5 on each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next, we're going to do some prone scorpions just to get a little bit of an extra stretch. So hands are going to be out to the side, and you're just going to take your opposite foot, and you're going to twist and look at your hand, getting a good stretch through the front of the shoulder. 1, 2, 3, we're doing 5, 4, last one, 5. Good. And now we are going to lay on your foam roll across the mid-back, so long ways, and we're just going to do some snow angels, getting a little bit more shoulder motion, opening up that chest. Ideally, you can have a little bit longer of a foam roll and have your hips and your shoulders and your head on it, but we'll do with what we have here. So hips are up off the ground, feet are apart to balance, and we'll scoot forward just a little bit there. So here, and then coming up and back down, keeping your hands on the ground. 2, we'll do 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last one, 8. Good. Okay, and we'll sit on back up, set that to the side, and that is all I have. So that was about 20 to 25 minutes of a little bit of mobility work there for you. So hope you feel a little bit looser. Now you can go ahead and use what you got and work out with it, or do a little bit more flexibility or active mobility work.